Okay, so we've worked our way from the routing system into the controller to a specific action result method. We looked at the view helper method of the controller base class that takes that task of pairing an action result method to a physical CSHTML file, the view that's associated by naming convention to the action result method, so that index here really is pointing to this view whenever we call the view method. So I want to take a look at the views themselves and ask just one or two critical questions and then wrap this up. We'll come back to views a little bit later. If we take a look at the content of a view, notice at the very top how we see some non-standard HTML. That's not HTML at all. That's called the razor syntax. Anytime you see the @ symbol followed by either some object or method name or through curly braces, that defines a section of C# code or a method inside of the framework or a method that we create. All right, so in this case, we're just going to, at the very top here, run this chunk of code, this block of code, where we are working with something called view data that we'll talk about a little bit later. And here we just have the HTML styled up with CSS classes for the carousel on the index page. And here is a series of columns with the links that we saw on that home page as well. So let's see, there should be, 4 different columns, I think, created. 2, 3, and 4. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the About page. Here we see an H2 and an H3 and a paragraph. Paragraph looks like pretty normal HTML paragraph, but here we're back to this view data stuff. What's this all about? Well, we have to have some way to move data from the action result method in the controller to the view. There's 2 different ways to do that. One is model binding, which is a big deal. We'll get to that a little bit later. But for those things that we don't want to model bind, they're just small little snippets or pieces of information. We can use the view data collection. The view data collection is basically a dictionary where we give it a key. In this case, let's look at the About action result method here. We're giving it a key of message and setting it equal to some string. And so when we want to retrieve that dictionary item with the key of message in our page, all we need to do in the About page is to reference the view data object again using the @ symbol. So we're saying we're switching over contexts from HTML to this razor syntax to access something that should be available in context. In this case, this view data object. And we're going to reference, in this case, specifically, give me the string that's inside of that dictionary item. All right, and that's where it will print out the line, your application description page, right? And so you can kind of see, if we go back to the about.cshtml page, here we're defining in this code block at the top, we're defining another dictionary item with the key of title and setting its value to the string about, which will get placed in the H2 above it. So that's how we get the word about, and then the string your application description page below it, and then that hard-coded paragraph. Use this area to provide additional information here on our About page. Right here. Okay, about your application description page, and use this area to provide additional information. Great. But the question comes in, what about, there's 2 parts to this. Look at the title element here in the tab. It says about-first project. Where is that coming from? And furthermore, where's this black bar? I didn't see that in the view, and I didn't see this horizontal rule, nor did I see the copyright with the year and the name of the project. Where is all that coming from? Because the only thing we really see here are these 3 lines in our view in the CSHTML file. Well, to answer that question, you can take a look at the shared folder, and there's this _layout.cshtml page, And you can see that at the very top we get all of the typical HTML5 tagging, like the doc type, the HTML tag, which rolls up everything, the head, and then the body below it. Inside of the head you have references to Bootstrap and the site CSS, which we looked at in that www root folder. We said it would be served up from there. If we continue on into oh, actually, remember I said, where do we get the title tag? It seems to be populated somewhere. Well, this is using Razor syntax inline to grab the title dictionary element called dictionary view data, the element title, and whatever we place inside of the title here will get used in this layout. So essentially what this layout will do is provide what I call the chrome around the page, and then anything that will be displayed in that main area of the page will then be inserted right here in the body using this @renderBody method, this Razor method called renderBody. It will take whatever's inside of the page that was the view that was originally called the about.cshtml, take all of that and insert it in right there. All right, and so then you see here's the horizontal rule in the footer with the copyright in HTML and so on. Here's references to the JavaScript and so on as well. So we'll take a look at Razor syntax in depth in its own course, mini course, micro course. But in essence, that's how the layout gets paired with the view to give you an entire page. It injects in that view's content into the layout page. And you can see that that layout page is actually defined in this view start file. So if you want to use something different, or you want to give different layouts and not just use one layout CSHTML file, but you have like 10 different ones depending on the page or some other property that you can set and retrieve inside of like about page. Like you could say, hey, for this one I want to use this layout page. You could do some logic in here to decide which of the layout pages to use. This time we're just setting the layout property equal to @layout or the underscore layout, which pops open and uses this underscore layout page. Okay. All right, so that's the relationship between the view and the layout, and how to one of two techniques that we use to actually send data from a action result method into the view itself and be able to retrieve it and use it inside of the web page. Okay, there's a bigger picture that we'll start looking at in the next video called model binding, but in order to do that we need to create a model, which we haven't done up to this point in this project. So we'll start that discussion in the next video. See you there. Thanks.